record Lauren's presentation. If you don't want to be on part of the recording. Oh, and I'm going to set it up to feature Lauren. How do I do that again?
Oh, you mean to do the spotlight video?
Yeah, right. To put you, oh yeah, spotlight for everyone, right?
No.
There we go. All right. We're getting it slowly but surely.
We have to get accustomed to technology now. Unfortunately, this is the wave of the future. Okay, everyone. So my name is Lauren Orlando. I've been a member of the meetup groups for the Hackensack Vegan Veggie Meetup. I've been a member for about 6 or 7 years. And if you know Greg York, he made me a co-organizer so that I could host events as well. And so I've been doing these demos and classes with the Ethical Culture Society for almost 2 years now. So it's fun to just kind of merge the crowds together. And because these recipes are plant-based, it's a win-win for everyone. So my background's in education. I'm a math teacher, and I'm working in supplemental education as a business consultant. So I like working with people. I like teaching. I like sharing healthy recipes. I've been a vegan, plant-based eater for a decade, and most recently transitioning to more of a raw foods diet. So the recipes I have today, some of them are higher in fat, some of them are lower in fat, but overall, it's really fun to be able to make healthy and humane holiday cookies. So that's the theme for today, and we are live in my kitchen, and I'm really excited to share these recipes with you. So excited to have you aboard. The first thing we're going to do is just talk a little bit about the types of apparatus, all the things I use in my kitchen. For a lot of these recipes, you're either going to need a food processor or a high-speed blender, like a Vitamix, the Ninja, and I think there's even a Cuisinart, a large high-speed blender with a large bowl, not one of those little individual serving Ninja blenders that they have. Like, I don't know. I have giant smoothies. I don't know. Really, really small, but you need a bigger blender for that. Either one of those will work for these recipes today. So the first thing I'm going to show is a recipe for almond butter cookies, and it's so super simple. So I'm going to share the ingredients. So we have some raw almond butter from Trader Joe's, and we're going to use some organic raw almonds. And we're going to also use dates. And so these are organic Medjool dates that I have pitted. And my shortcut for pitting the dates is to actually cut them in half and just remove the pit if you can't get pitted. And Medjool dates are nice and large and soft, and they're actually the sweetest. So it really brings out the flavor without using anything like agave, maple syrup, sugar. I don't use any of those in my recipes. I'm going to use all my sugar from fruit. All right, and a little pinch of salt. So really the magic is behind really all of the processes that we have. So going step by step and making sure that we incorporate everything properly. If we do that, we have a nice cookie. It comes together. I also have a cookie sheet, and I'm not baking these, but I do have it lined with parchment paper because I'm going to put it in the refrigerator to harden. Okay, and so the parchment paper ensures that they do not stick. Although the high fat of the almond butter usually ensures that they don't stick at all. But I have that prepared as well. All right, so first thing. In our food processor, we're going to create almond flour. You can buy almond flour or almond meal, and it would do the exact same thing. But if you don't have it, the shortcut here is to put the almonds straight into your food processor or high-speed blender. Most high-speed blenders at this point can churn and chop up ice. So it's kind of the same type of thing here. So I'm going to put in my organic almonds. That's my bird Milo in the background. He's just saying hello. And this package here is 10 ounces. All right, so I'm gonna put this whole package into my food processor.
Oh, wow.
Now, when you make any type of flour or grinding up anything in your food processor and you want it to be dry and not wet, you wanna make sure you rinse it and then dry it with a paper towel. And that will ensure that nothing actually sticks to the bowl because you're trying to create a fluffy, fine ground flour. So I'm gonna put this in. ounces of my organic almonds. And
Lauren, I have a question. So I know that you're moving more into a raw foods type of diet. So with the almonds, can you use roasted almonds if you're not seeking to do raw?
Sure, you could use roasted almonds.
They have a little different flavor, I guess. I prefer roasted. I'm not, you know, I'm not the raw, but
yeah, it'll work the exact same way. And you don't even actually need to use almonds. You could probably use any other nut, except for something like a macadamia or a cashew, because they're so thick and so buttery, they won't really process into a fine brown flour like that we're looking for. But you could definitely use something else. You could even use dry roasted peanuts and make
Yes, she did. She just did the whole bag.
The same way. Okay? So, this is going to be kind of loud, so just FYI.
We don't need it. Mom, can you just listen? All right. Really nice here. I said yes, and with the thumbs up. Oh, Marina, red's very different. Nothing says I have to move my car on.
And this is what it looks like. Okay, it's pretty much finely ground in my food processor. Then again, you can use a high-speed blender as well. On the highest setting, just kind of pulse it, and it'll turn into a nice fine flour like that. Okay, so I have my 10 ounces ground up in there. Next, I'm going to put in my dates. So I have 10 dates here. If you like it sweeter, you could definitely add more, but just keep in mind that it'll be very, very sweet. Dates are extremely sweet. So I'm going to put these in here. Just like that. Okay. And I'm going to add my almond butter. And the almond butter is going to be really about a half a cup. You don't really need more than that. You just want it to all come together. So let me get my spoon here.
Get the rest of the ingredients later. Yeah.
Any nut butter will do. I mean, you could even use tea and get a different type of a sesame type of a profile as well. But we're gonna do almond butter today. Milo, calm down, Lulu. Here we go.
She sees the dog.
We're on mute. Oh, there we go. Yes. He likes almond butter.
Yeah. My goodness. And you have to give this a little bit of TLC when you work it through a blender or a food processor. I like to use a silicone spatula to make sure that I incorporate everything by scraping down the sides as I mix it. So I'm going to grab one of those. And if you've been following my recipe demos and you've been signing on or attending at the Ethical Poultry Society, you will know that this is kind of like something I never travel without. I can use it perfectly to basically fold in all the ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
No, that's pretty good to say.
Okay, so as you can see, it's starting to come together, okay? But there are sides of like here where the almond butter is just kind of sticking. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that incorporates. You gotta be patient with it. Try not to add any water or extra almond butter. Just try to work it in together because I promise all the fats start to assimilate. They start to stick to the dates and it does come together. You're just gonna have to be patient with it. Here we go.
You put the sea salt in early or late?
So the sea salt is going to be sprinkled on top. So that's the I know you're very excited.
Yes.
Skipping ahead, but yes, that's going to be after to kind of mimic what when you have like the crystallized sugar on top of a cookie, but we're going to do it a little bit more upscale with my Celtic salt that I have here. So we're going to throw that after again. All right, here we go.
I think the bird is imitating the Vitamix. Wait,
Or is it?
is that the bird or not?
Okay, now you can see it comes together on the sides here. So about 1 or 2 more rounds, we should have the exact texture that we need. These are my absolute favorite cookies. They're so super simple and so delicious.
Lauren, how many dates or how much dates?
So how many days is gonna take?
5 dates or 5 ounces?
5 and 5, I'm sorry, 10 dates.
10 dates.
That I hidden. Forget. Milo, oh my goodness. All right, let's do one more.
Absolutely.
Coming together beautiful. But the more patient you are and the more that you blend it, the more the dough will actually resemble a nice chewy cookie dough, and rather than blended up nuts with fruit. All right. This looks pretty much ready. I'm throwing it on the floor here. Guess Milo wants a cookie. We'll have to give him one later and see how that goes. I mean, bird treats are usually fruits and nuts anyway, right? Okay, so I have my hand here. I'm going to move it.
I was wondering if you ever made bird food.
They have recipes for those things. I never did. But when I do make something simple like this with fruits and nuts, I'll usually give him a taste. There was one recipe that I demoed, not this Halloween, but last Halloween at the Ethical Culture Society for creepy fingers. And it's basically essentially a dough like this, but I added hemp seeds to it and sesame seeds to it. And I gave him one of those. He went crazy over it. He loves nuts. So, all right.
Why would Alice get on the board?
He's just never been this vocal before. I don't know. Maybe he sees everyone on the computer. And so, well, this came together beautifully. It's all packed in here. So I'm going to get a spoon. So I have a heaping tablespoon, a little bit more than that, right? Just formulate a cookie in your hands. It comes together really well, like a cookie dough. Then I form it into a little ball. It's about the size of a golf ball. Okay. Put it down in the pan. So does anybody have a holiday cookie recipe that they absolutely love, that they have to have every single year? Anybody want to share what they like the most for holiday cookies?
My mom makes vegan peppernuss.
Your mom makes what? I'm sorry?
My mom makes vegan peppernuss and vegan Stollen.
Oh my God. That sounds delicious.
My son is vegan and he went crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's always so nice when mom is open to making vegan food. I'm part of a Sicilian family, And my mother is definitely not vegan, but she supports me, and she made all of the family favorite recipes vegan. And we, oh my gosh, went crazy over it. Anybody else, favorite cookie recipes? Or dessert recipes?
What one that Michelle does?
Oh, the
Peanut butter. Chickpea.
Peanut butter cookies?
the chickpea blondies.
No, but she makes cookies out
Oh
of it.
no! Oh, she makes cookies.
She makes cookie dough. It was with peanut butter and I think chickpea. I don't know.
Oh my God, that sounds delicious. Also really high in protein. So it's probably like a meal, right?
Yeah. But yeah, and the other thing is that like, do you cook? Is it possible to cook yours?
These, you can cook them.
Yeah.
And that would only basically, in order to, they're not going to rise or anything because we're not using flour, but it would make them warm. It would dry them out a little bit, make them a little bit more crispy on the outside. My recommendation always is to use either a food dehydrator or your oven on the lowest setting. And with these little cookies, you don't need them in there for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, you don't need to, right? You can just put them in the fridge and eat them straight away. So
well, that's because our daughter did something. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was definitely with peanut butter and chickpeas, like, you know, ground up in the Vitamix or the NutriBullet or whatever.
Yeah.
And she put dark chocolate, vegan chocolate morsels in it. What did she use to sweeten it?
That sounds
probably
delicious.
dates.
Maybe dates, but and originally we cooked it, and then we discovered that it tasted better raw. So then we just stopped cooking it. Or I guess we started tasting it before we put it in the oven, and we discovered that we ate the whole thing before we put it in the oven because it was that good. So.
See, that's the beauty of making vegan cookies, because you can always eat the cookie dough.
Yeah, you can eat it raw without any worries about salmonella or any of that. Yeah, so.
Right. How about you, Eric? Do you have family favorite vegan or any type of cookie recipe?
Not necessarily vegan, although Lisa would often make these date cocoa, like chocolate date rum balls with coconut sprinkles on them. So I guess that would be the favorite. But the other one would my old family recipe are Linzer tort.
Oh yeah.
You know, but again, that was not vegan. I think would have egg in it as a binder, but it was mostly walnut flour, I think, that they would use in my grandmother's recipe with the currant jelly. So. Yeah.
But the holidays are the time where you really can bust out your fancy recipes. And then, of course, you always want to plate them beautifully. Like I'm just putting these on my parchment paper, but I'll use a nice platter, try to garnish them. That's just the time of year where you try to get fancy. But my mom used to make jam strips with almond flour. They weren't vegan, but beautiful, like these buttery jam strips with raspberry jam or apricot jam in the middle, and cookie press cookies, and just your basic sugar cookies. But these days, I don't have the patience level to really make those roll and cut, the patience to do the roll and cut cookies with the cookie cutters. I just like drop cookies like these. But this time of the year to do it, you know, and especially now with COVID-19, your gatherings might be small or no gatherings at all, just you and your family at home. So it makes it even more special to make some of Just finishing this up now, I have.
So should we turn off the video then? We have to drive somewhere, so we're staying on, but we're going to mute ourselves so that you don't catch all the background noise of us moving.
That's okay.
All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, finishing this up here. I have 1.5 dozen on my tray. So this yields quite a lot, and these cookies are really high in sugar and fat. But that's what the holidays are about. But really, you only need, they're so rich, you probably only need 1 or 2. So these will last. These will keep in your refrigerator for really forever. No longer than 2 weeks though, because they start to get dried out. You could freeze them. My recommendation for freezing would just be on a glass dish. Not in plastic and not in those freezer bag type of things, but if you freeze them flat, just 1 row in a glass dish, you can freeze these as well. And then of course when you want to defrost them, my recommendation is to put them in the refrigerator so that they slowly defrost and they don't get too mushy or lose their texture. Okay.
Lauren, I'm curious about why you say not to use plastic.
Okay, so plastic has, it's made with some chemicals. So the BPAs that they use to make plastic and some cans, and they use it for lining on some Tupperware. And even if the Tupperware says that it doesn't contain BPAs, I'm just worried that by freezing the plastics, it's going to leach some of those chemicals out. So
it's about it's not a taste issue. Right. It's a health issue. Okay, just curious. Thanks.
People will follow a lifestyle or believe what they want to believe. Some people aren't afraid to use plastic, and they think it's a little overkill. But for me, I'm just scared of using plastic, especially in the freezer or under high heat. I try to be very careful with that. Oh my goodness, Milo. Okay. So I'm just cleaning out my food processor for the next thing. But here are our cookie balls. Okay, they came out so beautiful. Oh, one went rolling away. I guess I'm gonna eat that one later. The last step is to finish them off. Okay, so I know Eric's really excited for the salt, the sea salt. So here we go. Anytime you have these sticky type of cookies with dates, the best thing to do is actually wet your hands a little bit, just a little bit, so they don't stick when you go to flatten them. I got my fork. And a little bit of warm water. I just use my 3 fingertips on my hand and I just flatten a little bit, just like that. You don't want to go too crazy because the sides of the cookie will start to break apart a little bit. It's all natural and that's okay. So we just flatten them a little bit here. 1, 2, 3.
No, I'm afraid I'm gonna.
The water will also help the sea salt stick, so that's good too. And you could sprinkle on top of these, dust them with cinnamon or cocoa powder. If you're looking for a different look or to make them look a little bit more colorful. I'm gonna wet my hands a little bit more here. Okay, beautiful. Now we're going to use our fork to make the famous peanut butter cookie cross hatching. I don't know why they do this. Does anybody know why we do the cross hatching on a peanut butter cookie? Has anybody? I feel like it's like an urban. I don't know. It's like a legend. Like why do we do that cross hatching on a peanut butter cookie? But we're gonna do them on our almond butter cookies. So it just you imprint them like this. So you take the cookie and you go like this. You press it down this way. And then you press it down the other way, like this. And that's your cross hatching. I don't know. There's just something that we do. So you're gonna cross hatch your cookies in the tray. This way, just gently. Okay. And then the last step, of course, is to put our whoops, this one came apart a little bit. That's okay, we'll just put it back together. We're gonna put our sea salt on.
I'm basically vegetarian too. I know.
A little bit of sprinkling. The Celtic sea salt is really coarse, so it's very powerful. So a little bit goes a long way. Okay. Sometimes it's helpful to clean off your fork between cookies so they doesn't stick so much. So just finishing this.
Why don't you choose them?
Beautiful, beautiful cookies. And we made this, okay, it's 2 o'clock now. So what, maybe 15 minutes? We have a whole tray of cookies here. It's great if you have these things at home. Again, you can use any nut. You could use any butter except for cashew or macadamia, right?
No.
So if you have peanuts and peanut butter at home, you have company coming over, you can make these within 15 minutes, pop them in the refrigerator, then you have a beautiful dessert. Okay, I'm all about that. Fast, quick, simple, especially because I try to impress my family and they're not vegan. So I try to make things fast, simple, easy, and delicious. So I'm just gonna take my sea salt now, just sprinkle a little bit right on top. It helps balance out the sweetness of the dates, gives it that nice agrodolce type of a flavor, sweet and savory, delicious. Delicious, delicious cookies here. Okay, I think I took a little bit too much salt. Oh well. I'd rather put it in the sink than put it in my body. I don't need the high blood pressure. My job does that enough. Okay, just kidding. And here we are, my beautiful raw almond butter cookies. Milo's going crazy. I guess he's hungry. And super quick and super simple. Go ahead and put these on my table. My love. Is a boy. Okay. All right. So next we're going to do a chocolate cacao type of a recipe. These are our raw brownie bites, brownie cookies. So for these, I use walnuts. Okay. Now, with this particular recipe, in order for everything to combine super well, I've actually soaked my ingredients. So I've soaked my dates and my raisins, and I've also soaked the walnuts that I'll be using. So the first step is to take the walnuts and rinse them off. So one of the things about nuts in particular is that they contain an acid called phytic acid, PHY, phytic acid. And by soaking the nuts, even if it's just for a little while, you start to remove those acids, and then the nuts will be a little bit more, you will get more of those nutrients. So it's a little bit more absorbable. So I'm gonna take my walnuts that I've been soaking in my Veggie Heaven containers. Yes, Veggie Heaven. I know that the vegan meetup has meetups at the Veggie Heaven in Teaneck, but there's also a Veggie Heaven out here in Denville. I like to order their seaweed salad. It's like one of my favorites. Okay, so I'm taking my nuts and I'm just removing the water and then just give them a nice rinse. And you'll notice too that when you soak the walnuts, some of the outside coating that's usually a dark brown starts to wear away, and you just get this nice tender walnut, and it makes them taste less bitter. It does help. I promise you, it does help. If you can do this extra step, ideally you would soak them overnight in your refrigerator, but I just thought to soak them this morning. So they've been soaking for about 5 hours, so overnight, close to overnight. All right, so I have in my bowl here 2 cups of walnuts. So this is going to yield a lot of cookies, and I won't bore you by making all of these cookies because you'll probably get close to 3 dozen. All right, but I'll show you how it's done. So you're going to take your food processor here, and I just want to make sure my blade is on securely, and I've removed most of my almond cookie crumbs here. Completely different flavor profile, and it's going right on my food processor. So, our 2 cups of soaked sprouted walnuts, organic walnuts, again from Whole Foods. I always feel like I'm advertising for Whole Foods, and it's not that actually, maybe these were from Trader Joe's, I don't remember. It's not that I prefer Whole Foods. It's not that you must go to Whole Foods over anywhere else. But the fact of the matter is that since COVID-19, it's really been the most reliable source for many of my staples at home, for my food at home. So I always promote Whole Foods inadvertently. Okay, next we have our dates and raisins. I've been soaking these as well in my glass dish here. And with this, you don't necessarily need to rinse them, but you do want to get the water out because the dates have basically absorbed a lot of that water already. So I'm just gonna go ahead and strain these out. And I have 12 dates and 1/2 a cup of raisins. All right, so let me go ahead and just get the water out of these. And they all go into the food processor. And these dates have already been pitted. I do recommend that you check them. Even when you buy the pitted ones, I recommend checking, making sure that they don't have any pits in them, because sometimes they find their way in. I don't know if they pit them by machine or by the masses, but sometimes you get a pit in there and that ruins, unfortunately, your entire recipe. That's always a disaster. So the raisins help develop that brownie type of a taste. It's like that deep caramelized you're looking for. So that's why I use dates and raisins in this recipe. And I have one last recipe to show you with dates and raisins. I think you're gonna like that one as well. Okay, so next we are going to, this is a dump recipe. All goes in the food processor at the same time, super fast. We're gonna sprinkle in some cinnamon.
That indicates D-A-T-E-S? Yeah.
I like to use cinnamon. Cinnamon always brings out a deep chocolate flavor. 12 dates, Marina, 12.
Thank you.
How is really going to depend on taste. I usually use 2/3 of a cup. And I know I use 2/3 of a cup, and you notice I'm not measuring it. This is my thing. I don't measure anything. I just kind of eyeball it, and I know when I prepare the recipes to share with people, I give you measurements, but again, I'm very Italian. I just throw stuff in. So 2/3 of a cup of raw cacao. Now, raw cacao can give you energy just like caffeine. So when you serve these, you might have them for dessert, after dinner. Keep in mind, they will give you a little bit of an energy surge. So I recommend you don't have tea and coffee with these, maybe just the decaf, right, or an herbal tea. I'm gonna put in my cacao here. And that's it. It's honestly that simple. The only fancy schmancy thing that we do to these cookies is we roll them in coconut when they're combined. All right, I just want to double check the chat here. Okay, that was just green. Okay, good. All right, so
I can't eat these.
let me cover up my cacao here. Put that to the side.
And
I'm gonna go ahead and blend these together. And just like the other recipe, the almond cookie recipe, I'm gonna use my little handy dandy spatula here to make sure that everything incorporates well. All right, might have to stop it and scrape as we go along. Okay, here we go.
I'm gonna make sure I will spray the silicone.
All right, so looks like it's combining on the bottom, but not so much on the top. So just gonna work this in.
Yeah, I gotta make sure that.
It already smells delicious, like a chocolate factory in here. Raw cacao is borderline medicinal. One of my favorite things to make. It's going. Just gotta be patient with it. It's incorporating on the bottom, so you just want to make sure that you move down the sides. Now, with a high-speed blender with this recipe, because we're using dates and raisins, if you're using a high-speed blender instead of a food processor, I recommend doing this in half. Okay. Reason being is that it's very sticky. It might over process, might overload the motor in a high-speed blender.
It seems like 2 things. Huh?
So it's really up to you how much you would like to blend this. I'm used to having brownies with a little bit of a crunch, like having the walnuts mixed into the brownie. You could stop it here. I know that my husband doesn't care for walnuts in his brownies, but we do need that as part of the flavor profile. So I'm going to just do one more time here and then I'll call it done. All right, so I have my parchment lined pan here. And move this over to the side and the basic assembly. If you remove the blade and you just take out the pitcher, this is a fun activity to do with kids, all right? It's like Play-Doh, but you can eat it, so that's the fun part. It can be a little messy, but these days, anything that takes children away from a screen, I'm a big fan of, right? So this could be a lot of fun. Doesn't require a hot oven, less injuries, okay? So, get my spoon. Brownie bites are delicious. A lot of people like brownies. There are thousands and thousands of brownie recipes out there. My thing with brownie recipes is that when I look up brownie recipes for vegans, a lot of the time it requires all of these strange things like silken tofu or just random things like baker's chocolate. I'm like, who? I don't have baker's chocolate. You know what chocolate I'm talking about? It has no sugar in it. It's just like a slab of chocolate. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Baker's chocolate?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I don't have that. So this is easy for me. This is something that's really accessible. These are mainstream ingredients you can get anywhere. So, okay. So we're just going to roll our little brownies into a ball.
No.
These are a little bit softer. Because they're, oh, sorry, I'm just reading Renee's message there. These are a little bit softer because of the cacao and all of the beautiful dates and raisins. So I do recommend that you refrigerate these before eating. These are kind of like a must. Refrigerate these for 2 hours. That's really all you need, okay? And then you're just gonna dip it here in your, they look kind of like snowballs. They're so gorgeous. And this is definitely something that it has a little bit of a wow factor. Okay, and you just dip it in your coconut, just like this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just make a few more, and then I'll put this to the side to show my next recipe. Okay. That's really it. Okay, you're welcome. Bye. I think that was Elaine, right? She has to jump off. Okay, awesome. So that, it's extremely simple. Now with these, another elevated way to make these cookies, if you will, is to take out the coconut and put out crushed hazelnut. If you're a fan of those Rocher little chocolates, those used to be my favorite thing ever. I was eating them since I was like 7 or 8 years old. I had a very refined cultured taste as a child. But if you do, you can take hazelnuts and do that exact same thing I was sharing with you before. In a clean food processor, use your paper towel, or in your high-speed blender, you can grind up your hazelnuts and make hazelnut flour and do this exact same thing. Sometimes I even get a little crazy and I use matcha green tea powder. So they are chocolate green tea bites. Now combined with the cacao and the matcha, I mean, these are gonna have you soaring. Good pre-workout snack, if you will, or before work, or to get you over the afternoon slump, or a combination, right? Some green tea, some coconut. You could even, get a powdered, there's like a powdered peanut butter, like called PB2. You could dust them with peanut butter flour, and anything. It could really increase the variety, if you will. One of the other things I've done with these is I've added like mint extract. So I had like chocolate mint, and that's fun too, because if you have the little they kind of look like snowballs, right? So it makes them even more festive for the holidays. And that's it. So with these, you don't need to bake them. You just refrigerate them. You could bake them at a low temperature in the oven. But I think with this, it would dry them out. It would make them a little too crackly and dry. So, and I think that's because that they actually have more fruit than nuts, this recipe. So that might not do well in the oven there. So just refrigerate it and you'll get the exact same, you'll get the nice mouthfeel without having to turn on your oven. And it's fun. It's a good time. Again, if you have kids and you have and different bowls with different things, they even sell vegan sprinkles. So if you want to make them even more kid friendly, have a bowl of vegan sprinkles out, and you're having a good time in the kitchen with your family. And honestly, those are probably my favorite memories growing up. I mean, I wouldn't be here with you today if I didn't have good kitchen memories with my mom, right? Does anybody have any recipes that they have with kids? Does anybody have kids that when they're in the kitchen that they do any fun recipes with? Any kid-friendly recipes that they have? No? Kids in the kitchen, it's a really, really fun thing. I shared that I was a teacher, right? I'm a certified math teacher. And one of the most impactful things for me was, believe it or not, I was terrible at math. I was, up until 4th grade. I was literally the worst at math. But one of the most powerful things that I could do was help my mom in the kitchen to learn fractions. Because when you live in an Italian house, you don't just make one recipe. You either double or triple a recipe. And when you do that, the mental calculation skills have to be way up there. You need to know, for example, a 3/4 cup plus a 3/4 cup is a cup and a half. These are the things that helped me really refine my mental calculation skills and also my fraction skills. So don't underestimate the power of having kids in the kitchen to help with math skills. And I know that they always teach fractions with pizza, but that wasn't really solid for me. I didn't understand that. For example, 1/8 of a slice or 1/8 of a pizza was going to be smaller than 1/2 of a pizza. I didn't get it. You know, I thought the higher the number, the bigger the number. I never really got that. But with cooking, it makes a lot more sense. Okay, so I just made 9 of these. I'm going to get probably 15 of them based on the size that I made. And if you made them even smaller, you would get close to 2.5 dozen of these. All right, just rinsing off my hands so I can show you my beautiful tray. I was yapping away, but it's so far away you can't see it. And here they are. Delicious, delicious brownie bites. And let me show you on my platter. I'm very excited about my platter. Mila, be quiet, my friend. Okay. So you got your beautiful festive Christmas platter or holiday platter. I know I didn't refrigerate these yet, so I'm kind of just being too excited here. But look how gorgeous these look on a platter. I'm just gonna shove my entire platter in the refrigerator. Look how gorgeous this looks. Wow, that's beautiful, okay? So that's why I love making these. They look so fancy with minimal effort. I'm gonna go pop these in the refrigerator. Okay. So at this point, does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask about being vegan in the kitchen, holiday? No? Thoughts? Just check in the chat. No? Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And oftentimes, like holiday cookies and things like that, they have more color.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's like vegan. I mean, like a lot of jellies will use pectin, right? And that's not vegan. Is that correct?
Pectin is typically found in apple. And
oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. So
you can make it like a jelly kind of a thing for some of them.
Yeah. You can make a jelly. The simplest way to make a jelly is believe it or not, using something frozen. So I make my blueberry pie, my blueberry banana pie. The blueberries have pectin in them as well. So I'll just take frozen blueberries and mix and blend them up in my food processor with dates. So
I have no sound. You know what I hit?
I'll put jam with that, or even
You
with
lost your sound.
Can you type that down?
Oh.
No, we can hear her.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. So that would be good to do something like that. All right. So just cleaning off my blade here so I don't dull my blade. When you use a food processor, I learned that you don't want to keep the blade soaked in anything, not even in water. You don't want to put the blade in the dishwasher because it will dull the blade. And because I rely on my food processor so much, you got to be really careful. So just take this. You can't wash it for now. Just rinse it off and put it on, on the windowsill. You don't want to put it in your dishwasher. You certainly don't want to leave it submerged in your cookie dough. It will dull the blade. Okay, that's the same with knives too. You should hand wash your knives, or at least have a good sharpener for your knives. Rinse them, wash them by hand, and just leave them out to dry. All right. I'm just gonna pop the rest of this in my refrigerator in case I become inspired later to form cookies here. I see something in the chat. What's in the chat here? Do you know where I can buy fresh citron? What is citron?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, you can talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to type instead of talking. It's something that I use in the Pfeffernuss and in the Stollen, but I don't like the ones that you get that are sugared because it's so much sugar on it. And so citron, it's a green fruit, and I can't remember if it's Chinese or what. I can't remember the background, but I have gone to Chinese markets. I've gone everywhere you could think of it, and I can't find it. Not even on Amazon, nowhere. So I just figured I was going to make it, but I can always rinse off the sugar.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. You're all the way kind of like south, like by the shore ish.
Right. Ish, yeah.
They do have a lot of those markets. There's also, you're probably better off going to the city.
Yeah, well, it's not worth that, especially now.
Yeah, because I have friends who bought jackfruit, durian, and they would have to go all the way to the city to get those types of special fruits like that. There's a giant farmers market that I'm thinking of in Bergenfield, which is in Bergen County. It's far.
I know where that is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they have that there. There's also one in Hackensack on Main Street. They have a lot of huge variety, a lot of bizarre fruits. That's one of the things I really want to get used to is using those strange, unusual fruits like rambutans and tamarind. I'm not really familiar with tamarind. Citron's another one I'm not really familiar with. I stick to your basic like apples, bananas, oranges, but because they're just so plentiful and they're actually on the more inexpensive side. Right?
Yes.
Like Asian pears, those are delicious.
If you're looking for exotic fruits, if you live anywhere near Hackensack, there's a place called 99 Ranch, which is basically a Chinese supermarket.
What is it called?
99 Ranch.
99 Ranch. It's in the mall where the Home Depot is. And then also if you don't, there's also H Mart, which is a Korean chain of supermarkets, which I think there's a big one in Fort Lee. The one in Hackensack closed, I think, but there's a couple of them. And they generally have a lot of sort of special fruits.
Thank you.
I think there's an H Mart in Edison.
H Mart.
That's not too far from Edison, right? 20
Pardon?
minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes from Edison, 10 minutes.
There you go. Perfect.
I did not know that citron was a unique type of fruit. I always thought it was like other fruits that were processed a certain way.
Yes, that's the challenge, is that Marina was saying that she can't find the pure fruit. It's always like sugar coated like a candy, not the actual fruit.
Right. I Googled it, so,
Oh, you did? Okay.
Not this year, but last year. So maybe new information came out. I have to check.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for fresh jackfruit, I've never got it there, but there's a Indian supermarket in the Marshalls. What's that called? In the Gateway Mall.
Oh, well, that's here.
Yeah, in Old Bridge. So I don't know if you ever could find that.
Yeah, fresh jackfruit they have there.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's if you're familiar with, I'm sure you are, Willy Wonka. You know the scene where they like walk into like the that candy paradise. They like walk in and there's like trees made out of candied mushroom. You know, and they like walk through, and then Augustus Gloop falls into the chocolate river. You know what I'm talking about? When I went to Costa Rica, and I went to the different fruit stands, it was like being in that scene because having all of these strange, unusual things like sapote and mamey and giant avocados, like this size avocados, gigantic.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is like being in a food paradise. It's like candy, like all these different exotic fruits. So, and quite honestly, we should rotate what we eat a lot. Like some people will just have a regular salad with romaine constantly. And we don't want to do that. We want to rotate our fruits, our vegetables, our leafy greens, because everything has a different nutrient value. And you want to make sure you get all of your nutrients as much as you can from your food, right? So that, I understand exotic fruit. It has that effect on me as well. Okay, so last but not least, it is 2:28, but I have one last thing to show you before we go, and I need my cutting board. And last thing is, I'm going to show you how to make a cinnamon bun cookie with banana. So not that exotic, but definitely a tropical fruit, banana. So I'm going to move these extra dates. I didn't use these dates. I'll just leave them here for now. And I'm going to bring my computer over to my countertop so you can see kind of this this process here. All right. So in order to make this, what I've done in my food processor ahead of time, because I knew we were going to be running short on time toward the end, is I've blended up some dates, 8 dates, 1/4 cup of raisins, and a little bit of water, like 3 tablespoons of water. And I blended it to make this delicious cinnamon bun type of a flavor to put with my bananas. So that was the first step, step number 1. Next, I'm gonna take my banana, and for this recipe, I know I always tell my classes, right, you have to have a banana that's ripe. So with this recipe, you can't have it too ripe, and it can't be unripe. So this is the sweet spot, pun intended, I guess. It's yellow with just a few speckles, but not crazy dark brown. This is gonna give you the best texture you need to roll your cinnamon buns. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and peel this. Like
Lauren, is the cinnamon in with the dates and the raisins, or you're gonna put that in?
Yes, I did add some cinnamon to that as well. Thank you, I forgot to mention that. I did put cinnamon in it, but if you don't put cinnamon in it, you can put cinnamon on top. Thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel my bananas here. And can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, okay. And so I have my sharp utility knife here. And you can see that when you look at a banana sideways, do you see, this has a little bit of a bruise on it, but you see these lines here? You can actually follow these lines as you slice your banana sideways to get your cinnamon bun that you're looking for. Okay, so I'm gonna take my knife, I'm gonna slice it sideways, just like this, to make a little bit of a strip. Across, and you get sort of like a banana type of a ribbon, just like this. And again, if you're playing with kids in the kitchen, obviously you would do this part, but this next part's really fun with little ones. So you're gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna go ahead and slice this a little bit more. So we have a few to show you here. Just slice it right across. Now this is my low fat recipe, no fat recipe. The reason being is that they're delicious and sweet. You can have them whenever you would like. Have them for breakfast, have them after dinner. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just slice these across. Just like this. Now with these, you do use your oven or a dehydrator. So for your oven, lowest setting, 5 to 7 minutes. And then in your food dehydrator, 118 degrees overnight, 8 hours, okay? Either one. Okay, so with this, maybe I'll turn it this way and get one more. Okay, if your banana is really, really ripe, it won't slice like this. It'll just kind of turn to mush. And if it's not ripe enough, if it doesn't have spots on it, it'll be too firm and you won't be able to get your knife to go across. Okay, so you can see I have my banana strips here. I'm going to take my date, raisins, and cinnamon paste here. And see, spoon. Should have got one before because now my hands are dirty. Okay. And I'm going to just put some in the middle here, just like this. And I'm gonna kind of bring my computer over so you can see it a little bit better, because this is the magic right here. This is the technique. So that's a little bit better, I think. Put your paste in the middle here. And then we just go ahead and roll it. Okay, so here it is. Here's my piece of banana with my paste, and you literally just roll it like this. You get a little cinnamon bun, just like this, okay? You put it down on your cutting board or on parchment paper until you're ready to pop it in your oven or dehydrator. I'm just gonna show that a couple more times with the banana that I have here. And this is not rocket science, like Emeril Lagasse says. This is not rocket science. This is not supposed to be stressful. So if your banana falls apart, don't worry about it. Just take another strip and put it around. Okay, it's sticky, it sticks right to itself. So here we go again, I'm gonna roll it. And we have beautiful cinnamon bun cookie. No fat, but it's so delicious with the raisins and the cinnamon, very seasonal flavors. If you have a brunch, my family always does a brunch on on New Year's Day. Just something that we do in my family. We have a big New Year's Day brunch and we play bingo. That's just what we do. So this would be nice, a healthy but delicious option to have for breakfast or for your brunch. Okay, so here we go. Just put it around. Beautiful. And that's the recipe. I have some in my food dehydrator that I'm going to show you. They've been in there now for a few hours, so you get kind of the full effect there. I guess Milo really wants one of these too. We're going to have to share with him. All right, and just put this around like this. Good. And one more. And you might have to practice slicing the banana until you get the right level of thickness. This is probably less than 1/8 of an inch thick, really, really, really thin. So you need a sharp knife, okay? But again, not rocket science, don't stress. And here we go, here's our last one here. Beautiful, okay. And those are our cinnamon buns. Hold them up to the camera so you can see them a little bit better here. Oh yeah, delicious. Renee's asking if I have my recipes posted anywhere. I do have a mailing list and this should be the link. Okay, it's a Google Doc. So if you want to sign up for my mailing list, I'm going to start to release some of my recipes. The goal is to create an ebook, so it might be like $5 for a whole bunch of my recipes. But for now, I have my newsletter, and I'm gonna send out recipes basically every month or so. So if you sign up for my mailing list, I don't intend to inundate you with emails. I'll probably send you one email every 3 weeks or so. Okay? I know what it's like to have your mailbox kind of inundated. You can sprinkle some cinnamon on top. I know I mentioned that before. Makes them look even more fancy. And these will go in my dehydrator. So let me show you some of the finished ones. Well, almost finished ones that I have. The dehydrator is behind the computer here. And here they are right out of the food dehydrator. They're a little bit crispy on the outside, but nice and ooey gooey in the middle. Delicious. So, so good. So I'm actually going to add these to my tray as well so that I have dessert later and I'm not going to feel guilty about it because there's no fat in these. And I'll just add on a little bit more cinnamon. I have a lot more of this date and raisin paste over here. So, whoop, this is cacao. Where's my cinnamon? So you can do anything with this. You can put this on a piece of toast and add extra cinnamon on top. You can use it as a replacement for sugar in that way. You can put it on top of pancakes, on top of fruit, just slice a banana and put it right on top. Or you can continue to make cinnamon rolls. I think I peeled 2 more bananas. So after we say goodbye today, I'll probably make a few more of these for the week. Okay, there we have it, our cinnamon rolls. Delicious, delicious, delicious. Oh my God, I'm gonna go crazy over these later. And that's it, I'm gonna pop it back in my food dehydrator now and I'll see them tonight after dinner. Whoops, how do I get them in here without? Here we go, perfect. Okay.
Fantastic, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thank you. Usually this is the point in the program where I give just a quick plug about the Ethical Culture Society. Those of you who are, as I mentioned earlier, this is a program of the Ethical Culture Society of Bergen County. You can find out more about the Ethical Culture Society by going to ethicalfocus.org. And you can find out about all the programs that we have going on, including our Sunday morning platforms, social activities, social activism, and ethical enrichment programs like this. And of course, we do also ask if this has been of value. You can always make a donation to the Ethical Culture Society. We're not for profit, and you can do so at the ethicalfocus.org.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Lauren.
Sure, you're welcome. That's all I have for today. It's 2:38. Does anybody have any questions or any other things they'd like to share with the group?
Thank you
Do
very
we
much.
get to see the bird?
You want to see my name? Yeah.
I have a question. Have we thought about what we're doing next month? We do this on the first Sunday of every month at 1:30. So that's just a reminder.
Oh,
There he is.
cool. He was the star.
Now he's quiet. Now that he's camera shy.
Yes, that's a good point. So our next meeting is going to be the first Sunday of January, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so in January, we are starting a whole new year. Now, typically in January, I do my juice cleanse. And so I'd like to do juice and smoothies and soups. I don't know how everybody feels about that since we're looking at cookies today and now we're thinking about cleansing in January. But that's typically what I do in January and September, October, twice a year, I do a juice cleanse for 3 to 5 days. So we can talk about that. I can talk about the benefits of cleansing. We can talk about juicing, smoothies, soups. So that'll probably be our focus then for January.
I would like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
I
You
think
bet.
that's wonderful.
Good way to start the year.
I think so. I think it's good to not just show fun things, but also how this is a sustainable lifestyle. And for me, I personally feel that we should cleanse. We should take some time to let our body digest. And so even if we don't want to cleanse for 3 or 5 days, even through 1 day or for 12 hours, we can do right by having green juices and green smoothies. So I'll demo some of those.
Perfect. And by the way, you know, as I always say, while this is, you know, these are great vegan recipes, this program is not just for vegans. This is for all types of eaters, which I consider myself to be. You know, I mean, I am not strictly vegan, but I really appreciate the, you know, the fact that I can incorporate this into my life. And again, I know it's better for me. I know it's better for the planet.
And for the animals.
And better for the animals. Absolutely. That's why the full name, we call it, we tried to get the whole thing into the title, Ethical Eating for Healthy and Humane People and Planet. And that, like, I mean, that to me is like what this is all about. So I really am always so glad for Lauren sharing your knowledge and just a fun time.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So then we'll see you next month.
Happy
See you
holidays.
next month.
Yep.
Bye.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.